With me now, I have Thomas Farley, an etiquette expert known as Mr. Manners. Thomas, it's been a while. It's good to see you. Thank you for hopping on.
Thank you, Markie. Great to be here.
I think a lot of people out there are saying, I just spent a whole lot of money on Christmas, but I have a few days before the new year to tip, kind of our everyday people, the nanny, the manicurist, the doorman. What's your rule of thumb this time of year?
Sure. So, as we just heard in that previous segment, the economy is in tough shape for so many right now. And as people want to have some shred of a holiday and they know those holiday bills are going to be coming in January, if you do have the financial means, this is really the time to be giving those holiday gratuities. So, think about, I always tell people, just like Santa Claus, make your list, check it twice. Think about all those people who make your life that much more gratifying and wonderful all the year through. And just for the audience, so we're not confusing necessarily the person at Starbucks or the person ringing up a transaction for us at a 7-Eleven who we're perhaps being presented with those screens every time we have a transaction. We're really talking about at the holidays, the people who we have an ongoing, consistent relationship, people who are coming into our homes and people who we're going to visit for some sort of a service on a regular basis. These are the folks that we really want to recognize with the holiday tip.
So we shouldn't feel bad if we go get that neighborhood cup of coffee and we don't leave a tip? Because, also, is there a way to ask politely if the actual staff is given those tips that we leave with a credit card?
It's a really great question. And, we kind of take for granted that you tap a little tip amount and that it is automatically going to the employees. And that may be true, but it is not always true, as the studies have continued to show. Sometimes it does go to things like a health insurance plan for employees that the employer is paying. But I have no issue with asking either a manager, it may be a little awkward to ask the person ringing you up in that moment, by the way, if I tip you now, is this going to you?
Yeah.
But if it's a concern you genuinely have, but typically those amounts we're really talking about are much smaller, maybe $1 or $2. The holiday gratuities, of course, are much larger amounts, and that's where you know it's going directly to the person. You're handing it to them, and very often in cash.
Yeah, because I've thought about that before. I'm not always convinced that my credit card tip is going to go straight to the barista that's pouring my double espresso. Thomas, there's growing frustration around tipping, especially with things like to-go orders. But people, as I mentioned in that piece right before you, people do tend to be more giving during the holidays. What makes this season immune from this tipping fatigue?
I think there's a certain amount of just kind of holding our nose and jumping into the pool head first and hoping for the best come January. And it's a wonderful thing. Americans, I think, by and large, are people who are very generous, and we tend to outspend what our normal budget perhaps would be or even should be, and feel that we'll deal with the consequences later. So I think that's probably what's behind it. We spend a little bit more than we can afford for our loved ones sometimes. And I think by extension, that happens for the service professionals, or even, yes, those folks giving us the latte in the morning, or the folks who are, making our daily experiences that much better. We tend to be a little more generous with them, which I think is a good thing, providing that you can afford it. Don't go into debt.
Yeah, exactly. Just a few seconds left. Where do you draw the line on who gets an actual gift?
A gift certainly is something that you give to a teacher, for example. You would not give money to a teacher. So I would say, in general, someone that you're not paying for something, for a service throughout the year, but who's just giving you some kind of a kindness throughout the year where there's no money being transacted, that's a good candidate for a gift. And a teacher would be a perfect example, elementary school teacher.
Thomas Farley, thank you so much for being here, especially the morning after Christmas. Appreciate your time, and Happy New Year's to you and yours.
My pleasure. You as well.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.